Video highlights from the January 8th monthly Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association meeting that was held at the Roosevelt Community Center. Sincere thanks to all of the featured speakers and everyone who attended both in person and remotely.
So yes, welcome to our January meeting. Our agenda today is we're going to start off with Sergeant Silva giving us an update. Followed by that, I think we'll probably have a community center update. Where we go? Do we have any updates from the mayor's office we want to make? Okay, so we'll do a mayor's office update, then we'll drop our phone. And then Matthew here will talk about wait, too many microphones. We'll talk about some of the homeless situation here. In the meantime, I'm going to be passing around the sign-up sheet. If you haven't already signed up, please do. And I assume you want to introduce your counting exercise when you get up? Okay. So with that, I'll hand it off to Sergeant Silva. Thank you.
I'll face the camera. Not to be rude to anyone here, but since it's being broadcasted. I think I remember some of you from last time. I'm Sergeant Silva. I've been with the department now for 12 years. Recently promoted. I got promoted in July. So I'm the supervisor out here for what we call District Edward and King, which is basically downtown from 101 to 87, from 280 to, I believe, like St. John. So the more core part of downtown includes obviously like San Pedro Square and Roosevelt Park area. It is one of the busier spots, depending on the day and the time. Yeah. So I don't. Since last time, I don't have any specific updates. Obviously, the Super Bowl is about a month away, which will impact downtown, or it's anticipated to impact downtown. Obviously, there's going to be a big influx of people from out of town. There will be obviously professional athletes, newscasters, prize celebrities, maybe other dignitaries that I'm not aware of. Just full disclosure, I'm not part of the planning or organizing for that event, but I will be working my regular shift Tuesday through Friday during that time. So I'll be out here during those days. All the planning and coordination is being done at higher levels, and all those people that are privy to all those plans and contingencies are already designated, and they're having meetings almost daily about that. So I do know there will be some traffic diversions, road closures. Obviously downtown will be extremely busy. There'll be Super Bowl related events, either private ones from the clubs, the bars, or planned events with the NFL or whatever. And those will all, I'm sure, be announced and be available online. As far as downtown, for those that weren't here last time, I just do want to disclose I don't work every day, and I work certain hours. So my hours are 3 p.m. to 1
every day. What's wrong with the
I know. They said it's illegal. I don't know. Yeah. So I just want to say that because if certain issues come up and I'm not aware of them, just be aware that it's just probably because I was off that day or during that time. So in no way am I trying to dismiss those issues or minimize them. I just may not be aware of them because I have multiple counterparts, supervisors that work those other shifts. But if there are any major concerns, I am here to be a conduit between you folks and our captain, which as of right now is Captain Miri, but he actually just got announced. He's going to be our assistant chief coming at the end of the month. So someone will take his position in the near future. I'm not sure who that person will be yet, but it'll obviously be from within San SJPD.
Okay to circulate that he's getting promoted?
It's public knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, it was broadcasted to all of us department-wide in an email today. Okay. So, but yeah, Captain Miri and soon to be Assistant Chief Miri, he's a great person, and he's very receptive. So if there's any major concerns or questions, I'm here to, if I don't have those specific answers, or I don't have the ability to affect those changes, I can obviously relay it to him, and he can obviously make a lot more things happen than I can. So that being said, I'll open it up to any questions. First, we'll start with people here. Yes, sir.
You were mentioning you don't have to be close. Oh, no, I'm being monitored. Do I get a walk on? Get a walk on. That's there, right.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I'm not gonna make it to Stephen Colbert, but I can make it here. Yeah. So you mentioned traffic closures. Now, most of those are gonna be up by the arena rather than downtown, or are they going?
So I'm not sure. I know there will be some around City Hall. I was told that.
Okay,
And then I'm honestly not sure where all the events are going to be because I'm not working that weekend. I'm
Right.
off on the weekends. So yeah, I'm sure I'll miss a lot of excitement. So I'm not sure. They'll announce them though.
okay.
When obviously road closures that'll affect traffic and stuff like that.
Because they've already announced road closures up by the arena.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm sure, and I know other parts of the city, like Santana Row, will also be impacted. So I'm just not
Okay.
sure of specific road, like which roads will be closed or what times or days. But all those things will be announced.
I'm retired, so I don't really need to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay,
Nothing worse than getting stuck in traffic and having to make a bunch of turns, detours and stuff. So
just to get home again, yeah.
yeah, so they will be announced, and I'm sure they'll be blasted on our social media pages.
Okay,
The department does a pretty good job of relaying information real time so that people are aware to avoid certain areas and
Okay.
stuff like that.
well, thank you.
Oh,
Welcome to
you're
the show. And
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So the concerts that have already been announced, some of them have road closures on Santa Clara Street so that they can have space for the concerts, and they'll probably be like 5th and 4th. That first block from Santa Clara are going to be closed, I believe. And then it should be the same as our other cultural events where we mail out the road closure notices to every residence. And then if you have any questions about the road closures as we get closer, feel free to email the District 3 office, and we can also forward you the, we get road closure notices from the Office of Cultural Affairs, and they send it to us, and then we can absolutely send it to you if you're not finding them.
I was just wondering, with the road closures, if you live in a particular neighborhood that is impacted by the road closure, would a ID like your driver's license help, allow you to get through, or do the officers just tell you no for everyone?
So typically road closures, if they're in a specific, they usually aren't in a neighborhood, like a residential neighborhood. It's usually major thoroughfares like Santa Clara Street. And they will usually provide alternate routes that might not be as direct or timely, but they won't prohibit people from going home. I think usually the circumstances I think you're referring to are when there's a crime scene. It's a very impromptu emergency thing where, a specific neighborhood street is closed off. And then usually, even in those cases, if it's safe to do so, like if you're not going to be in danger, then officers would escort you to and from your house. They usually, unless you're in immediate danger, if you go to your house, the officers typically won't prevent you from coming and going. Hopefully that answers your question. Ma'am, I don't know if maybe you have more answers on that.
I haven't been told any exceptions.
Yeah.
It's mostly for pedestrian safety, the ones that are usually ones.
Yeah.
But I think what I have to do is I think I'm going to ask our communications director if we can maybe post a section on our website, the D3 website that has the road closures. So I think that'll be just an easy thing.
Yeah, because I think that'll probably be a source of stress and anxiety for people not knowing if they're going to be able to go home or pick up their kids. And yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I did have an experience where, for example, like during Cinco de Mayo, parts of the downtown area, for example, was closed off and traffic was being diverted to get back on through 87 or something. But I live nearby and I was just trying to get from City Hall over back home over in the North Side neighborhood. And I was not allowed to turn into the neighborhood from Santa Clara Street. So I ended up having to go all the way almost to Milpitas and loop back around. So I just wasn't sure that if I had shown whether you guys accept people with driver's license to indicate I'm just a few blocks from here. And can I just turn in here? Or whether
Yeah.
the officer's just, well,
I can't speak for the Super Bowl, but I have worked Cinco de Mayo, and I think it really just depends on the officers reaching out to their supervisors under circumstances like that, where you're like, hey, this is where I live, and obviously it is. You have your identification. Because I know when I was an officer and we worked traffic diversion for Cinco downtown, there were those instances where someone's like, hey, I live here. There's no other way to get into this neighborhood. And I would just check with my supervisor and they'd say, yeah, just let that one person through. Obviously, when there's a traffic diversion, it's for a reason, and it is usually for safety, mostly pedestrian safety. And it's, we will have, unfortunately, people that don't necessarily tell the truth, like, oh, I live right there, and really they just want to get through because it's more convenient. But I think on that, if you do encounter that, and it doesn't hurt to ask the officer, can you just check with your supervisor? I live here, I can prove it. I have to go to my house. It's not a hard rule. Obviously we can make exceptions under certain circumstances. So, but I don't know. I know that there's going to be closures near City Hall because there is going to be a concert there, and that's going to affect several blocks. But I think it's mostly going to be Santa Clara Street, right? Yeah. So
the Fifth Street block that's right there between St. James and Santa Clara. It's usually closed. It's a little stretch to Santa Clara.
yeah.
Like same thing on 4th Street, that first lot. I don't think it's planned to go further than that.
Yeah. So I don't have a solid answer for you, but it never hurts to just, if you encounter an officer and you have to get to your house and you live there and they're telling you, no, you got to go this way. Just say, hey, can you just ask your supervisor? This is the only way I can go home. And if one of my officers approached me with that, even though we're told no one goes through here, it'd be like, okay, well, this one person, lives here, we can let them through. It's kind of like I said, how crime scenes, we typically don't let people in. However, if, they're a block away and they're still within the crime scene, but it's safe for them to go in, we'll make exceptions and allow officers to escort them just so that they're safe to their house in those situations. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does.
it does. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Question here.
It's actually not a question. Now, this is very interesting. Where do I talk? Just in here? Anyway, Ray, so I don't just like surf the city's websites just for fun. So if you're going to post something that's really relevant to neighbors, can you also send out an email, put it in Anthony's email blast also? I mean, as much communication as possible would be delightful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do put road closures in the newsletter as we get them. So they're in there. What I'm thinking might be useful is putting just one like Super Bowl, FIFA World Cup related road closures page on the website. And then we would put those road closures in the newsletter like we normally do, and then also link the website. So yeah.
Yeah, we just need a way to know, I've got to go to this website and check it out. Thank you.
I don't make promises on that, but I'm going to talk to my communication director.
Yes, sir.
It's more of advice. Got a house that burned in my neighborhood. We had RV camped in front of it. We finally got the city to clear them out. They towed an RV, they towed a truck out. The house had fencing around it. My understanding is the owner didn't pay for the fencing, so guess what? The fencing came down. So now we got a burned house, all the windows blown out, all the doors blown out, the garage doors blown out, and we got parked cars in the garage and all trash accumulating in the sidewalk. What would you suggest? I mean, I look at it as a safety house. If you got this house that's no windows, no doors, no nothing, totally burned, no fencing around it, And this is close to a school. So all of a sudden you could have kids going in there, getting hurt in there. What would you suggest that, how do we deal with that?
That might be more of a code enforcement thing, because the city would have to deal with the property owner. The police we can't close the property off since it's private property. So I don't know if maybe you could speak to that.
So that would be a code enforcement thing. The code enforcement process is fairly long, but what's the address of the house?
Off the top of my head, I can't give you the address, but it's right next to Obie Whaley School. And Obie Whaley School off of Alvin Avenue.
So it's in Foothill Division. It's Captain Zuniga's area.
And I know there was a truck in there with a camper. We complained, trashed all over. The police finally hauled them out of there. Then they towed an RV in. The RV didn't even run. They put it on some type of trailer, pulled it over there. Same issue again. We complained. The city cleaned it out. Then the problem is all of a sudden I'm assuming they're homeless going in there. And like I say, next to a school. I don't even know if it's safe to go in this house since it burned, but we got kids walking through there every single day and there's nothing there to prevent them from going.
Is this a residence or an apartment complex?
It used to be a residence, yes.
Okay, so single family home?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's, it's gonna be a different district. I know Captain Zuniga, so it's on Alvin or is it on one of
It's a
the,
side, runs off of Alvin Avenue.
okay,
You got those apartments on one side.
yes,
And on
Flanagan.
the other side, you got housing. I think it's the third one from the end, right next to Alvin.
okay.
And like I said, they put fencing around it. They didn't pay for it. They took the fencing out. No one got a wide open house,
So I used to work out there. So the division captain out there is Captain Zuniga. So I'll shoot him an email. I'll figure out what address that is. I'm sure there's been a bunch of calls for service there. And I'll just say that one of the concerns is squatters and the children's safety at the school and probably illicit drug use and just blight. And then I'm sure he'll reach out to, or I don't know what he's going to do, but I'll bring it to his attention.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
She's right, though. Code enforcement can be a long, dragged out process.
We are quite aware of it because we've been working with law enforcement and finally we have to take it to the police because code enforcement, they got street sweeping every month. They're tagging this RV, nothing's been done about it. It's not being towed, nothing, just sits there and garbage is appeared. Complain to code enforcement, they say, okay, we take the complaint and
Is the RV on the private property or is it on
on
the,
the street.
it's on the street? Okay.
It's probably been tagged at least 3-4 times for not being moved on the streets. No, the RV is gone, but now we got
Okay.
lots of problems. Now we got homeless moving in, and they're beginning to throw trash again on the sidewalk and the streets.
Yeah, I understand. I'll bring it. I will, after this meeting, I'll go over there. I'll actually drive over there. I'll get the address and I'll bring it to Captain Zuniga's attention.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yes, I'll figure out what your email is, or if you want to give it to me. I'll CC you on the email to Captain Zuniga. Yep.
Would it be wrong of me to suggest that he call Beautify San Jose? That's how I got some of the tracks cleaned up.
You can probably file a 311 report for like the garbage and stuff like that. But code enforcement would be the one to get to the root cause of the issue. So 311 can help get your path cleaned up, potentially send out homeless service folks, like those squatters. But code enforcement will be the one that kind of deals with the property owner to get that thing, get, if the house needs to be torn down, so people are squatting it.
Yeah.
Something very similar, very close to my house, where there was squatter house burned down twice. So code enforcement cited them, and then they finally tore it down because they were cited.
Yeah, the main issue for us as the police department is that it is private property. So without the owner being a participant oh, thank you. We can only legally do so much. And I don't know if Beautify San Jose has any kind of authority over private property either, which is the main issue. They obviously can help clean up the blight around on the sidewalk, the street and all that. But the main issue that we run into is it being private property.
And they've done a pretty good job of when we complain coming out and getting the trash out of there within a week, right back where we were.
Yeah, I think the long-term solution is working with the property owner and code enforcement and maybe the city attorney's office down the line to fix that issue. Any other questions or concerns? I was out here working, so it was wet. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, downtown San Jose doesn't usually draw too big of a crowd. Just, people that want to celebrate. So it was pretty quiet, actually. Surprisingly good. Very good, though. Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
very
thank you.
much. Okay. Here's updates from the community center.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Not too many updates since we had like the 2 weeks of furlough over here. We have had a couple incidents with the unhoused, unfamiliar faces, not our regular ones, just coming into the community center and then causing a little bit of chaos. And then, they usually leave. Today we had like a hit and run at the front. Where somebody just kind of backed up into like 2 cars and then they just drove off. And then it seems like they drove off to San Antonio and he hit a couple more cars down there. So I know PD, I think they did get him after all and they had him arrested over there. Other than that, let's see. We are back to our regular business hours, 8 to 6 and then 9 to 1 on Saturdays. No special events for this month. For next month, we just had our tree giving event in December, which went really, really well. We gave out 400 trees. We gave out toys to kids too, and we had sponsors. The council member, shout out to him, and then to all our volunteers too. So, but yeah, nothing too much to. Yeah. So not during the day. I don't think we were activated as a warming center. We have the OWL, which is the overnight one. Yeah. So we still have it. So it's from December and it'll go all the way to the end of April.
We're expecting to go into 30 or below next Friday.
No.
Yeah, there's a freeze warning.
Not 30 or below.
32 or below.
Oh, 30. You said 30. I thought we were going subarctic. Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's going to be in the 30s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said minus 30. Yeah. 30 below.
Yeah, so they'll let us know if we're activated or not. And then usually the warming centers will be from like 1 to 9, depending on the dates once we're activated. We haven't heard anything as of now. I know we were activated during just like an expanded activation because we had so there's 2 sites. There's Roosevelt and there's Evergreen. So the 2 sites came here and then they were using this room for the activation, but that was during the furlough. So it didn't impact any programming. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hi. So I'm actually a resident at Roosevelt Park Apartments. So we see quite a lot of the homeless as well activity, and the warming center obviously is so close to us that we see this a lot of the same. And I'm wondering, so what services is it offering? And when it's not being used as a warming center, we're not expected to be housing the homeless population in the park or around the facility. Yes.
Yeah. So the park is it's part of the parks. So it's not like recreation like Pier Ness. So that would be different because I can't do anything with the park people. It would have to be like the park supervisor and stuff like that. So usually the hour is only 6 months on and then 6 months off. So it's usually from starting December all the way to the end of April from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. So then after that, then they leave and then they go to the regular business day or, wherever they go. And then sometimes we do have them linger around in the mornings. And that's like the issue that we're having as of now.
I think that just more police presence would be appreciated so that, we aren't seeing lingering effects of the homeless population.
Yeah. The thing is that they're not showing up.
Yes, I've noticed the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do call, but they don't show up. So
Yeah.
that's the issues that we've been having the
Uh-huh.
last couple days.
And with that, I'll hand off to Matt here to talk about both mayor update as well as talk to us about homeless situation.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much, everyone. Glad to see you all. I'm Matthew Quevedo. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor Matt Mahan. I'm going to talk, I do have a presentation. I didn't know the projector was out. I will email the presentation to Jeff and David and make sure it is sent to all of you with the latest stats and numbers. We are waiting on some figures from the city manager's office, which should be coming at the end of the month, but I'll try to fill in with as much as I have. I do want to start, I really love providing context before I speak on anything, because I think presenting anything coldly puts it in a light of, it's up to you to interpret it. So let me try to, I grew up with parables. So if I tell some stories, it's helping illustrate what we are going to talk about tonight on homelessness. So I found out a month ago, I need to have surgery in the next 3 to 12 weeks. I've spoken to 3 different doctors, in fact, who specialize in the area of the surgery that I need to have. They all have a kind of the same idea of what they need to do to make the surgery happen, but they don't agree entirely on how to proceed. Just like homelessness and many different policy issues that we face at City Hall, we have many different specialists who have very, very good points on many different items on how to solve the problem, on how to build interim housing, on how to build affordable housing, on how to build permanent supportive housing, on how to build temporary shelters. And yet, all of those different specialists have to come together to work with elected leaders who are elected by the people to ensure we're getting a vision put forward that is well funded, that can actually happen to get people off the streets and get them the services they need. It's a reality thing. We need people to be working together, working with specialists, and making sure all of them are working together to figure out what the proper answer is. Is that confusing? It's a little confusing, but it's because we have so many smart people working together to solve a over 2,000-year-old problem. Important to remember that. I will give a quick high-level overview, and again, the slide deck will be sent to you about what's going on. But over the last year, your city government has focused on homelessness like never before. The issue of homelessness became what it is because for a long time, government, local government, state government, county government, federal government said, we're going to focus on all of this. We're going to focus on all of this, and we believe that because we have people working in expertise areas, we're going to move the ground and move the needle on some items. Unfortunately, that's not how it's worked out. California has 25% of the homeless population for the United States of America, despite having many individuals who are working to solve homelessness across the state. In San Jose, Mayor Matt Mahan, who was elected to council in 2020 on a platform of focusing on a back to basics policy, ran for mayor and was elected with a few thousand votes, mind you, to ensure that his platform was the one that moved forward, one that focuses on our back to basics issues of public safety, homelessness, and that's focusing primarily on ending street homelessness, building up economic development to pay for all of it, and other, maybe 1 or 2 other items of beautifying the city overall and building enough housing so that we are providing housing for the residents who live here. That platform has been moving forward, and it has been moving forward in a sense of the politics. Folks, the definition of politics is who gets what, when, and how. That is the most important way to remember politics. So although you elected a mayor at large in this city in a weak mayor system, that mayor has to work with 10 other individuals on the platform that he ran on. Now, a lot of those conversations have to happen on the 18th floor at City Hall, determining, well, Matt has some ideas that he proposes, but Councilmember Tordillos has some ideas that Councilmember Tordillos wants to see move forward, or Councilmember Ortiz. All of this has to be discussed very frequently, and it usually comes to a head on 2 very important dates. one of which is coming up on March 17th. I'm going to say that probably 10 or 12 more times tonight. March 17th is when the mayor's March budget message is openly discussed, or excuse me, it is released. It is March 17th is a date in which you all can show up to speak on what you like and or do not like about that budget. And then the following meeting, the council then will take the time to debate and determine what is the best path forward and how we move forward with the $6 billion budget that your city government controls. 3 months later, in June, the council comes together again. You get one more opportunity to speak on the item. And then you figure out, the residents, figuring out with the council and city staff on what is the final budget we're going to adopt for the year of 2026, 2027. Mind you, one more caveat. The city is facing a massive deficit this year, potentially $60 million. That figure is being worked on right now. We will get a more accurate number at the end of the month when the city manager's office produces that. But a lot of items have come together, including COVID pandemic, unfortunately, and the lack of spending in the city of San Jose that has contributed to us having a larger than usual deficit. This is not going to be a year in which we are spending wildly and adopting a bunch of new programs. This is going to be a year, unfortunately, of tight belt, or belt tightening, excuse me. So keep that in mind before we go into March. Here's a couple highlights for the year that the mayor shared. And if you haven't joined the mayor's newsletter that comes out monthly, I highly recommend you sign up. Jeff, I don't know if I can get I'll send the link to you. Please send that over to folks to make sure they're signing up. Unsheltered homeless is down nearly 25% from 2020, according to the homelessness census that is done every 2 years. Remember, there's a point in time count. Your city government, your county government work together to go count how many individuals are in the shelter system, in our interim housing, in our safe sleeping sites, and out on the streets, creeks, and rivers. We want to make sure we get an accurate count. The best we can do is getting that point in time count put together. And from what we've seen on the mandate the mayor was elected in, we've seen a 25% reduction in unsheltered homelessness. Remember, homelessness, very large, complex problem. Homelessness includes the sheltered kind, which has interim housing, shelters, and other types of permanent supportive housing. And there's the unsheltered, where people are living on the streets. We have reduced unsheltered homelessness by 25%. That is very significant. All of you deserve a round of applause for contributing to that number, because that means we're getting more people off of the streets into programming, into services, and helping them find, whether it's somewhere permanent to be down the road, getting them back on their feet for a job. Maybe it's a mental health issue or a drug addiction issue. Maybe it was just housing in the first place. We're helping people reconnect to those services and make sure they're getting back on their feet.
Hey, Matthew,
Yes, sir.
one point. How does that compare to the rest of the state? San Jose, is it not the leader in terms of?
I was about to get to that point, so thank you. No, you got it right ahead. We built 1,119, 1,119 new interim housing placements that have been opened. That's the largest single-year expansion on the West Coast. That's including Oregon, that's including Washington, many states along the West Coast, that we are producing more interim housing to get people safely off the streets. That is a huge accomplishment. And it wouldn't be possible without your tax dollars being focused to solve an issue that all of you are very much focused on. Tina, your question?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask questions during your presentation or not.
It might be better to keep it to the end, but you go ahead since you started.
Well, okay, so you mentioned all of the, the unhoused. And so what I'm reading is supervisors from the county supervisor, crew, they're also saying, hey, we're building all of this housing, which I didn't think they were supposed to do. I thought they were supposed to be focusing on mental health services, but that's another point. So what you had said, that reduction, does that also include the county, or is it only the city?
The county is a much larger, and I'll get to that a little bit more as well. The county is a much larger entity. Folks, it's always important to remember, at the local government level, there are multiple different local governments. There's, in fact, in the city of San Jose alone, there's 19 different school districts, each with their own board of directors, their own superintendent, and within that, their own system of education. So when it comes to the county and the items that they're working on, that's a 2 million population county. The city of San Jose is a city, incorporated city through the state of California within that 2 million population. The county, in fact, has flatlined in terms of their ability to shelter individuals. We've actually reduced the amount of unsheltered homelessness within the county, if that makes sense. So the county as a whole, they flatlined. I can't remember their exact percentage of unsheltered versus sheltered homelessness, but the city of San Jose has reduced their unsheltered homelessness by 25%. Yes, a lot of that is with county services and city services, in fact, but a lot of us at the city government, and you could check the charter and you could check the state constitution, which incorporates cities. City governments were never really designed to work on that type of issue. Health and Human Services is a function of the county by state law. So good question, Tina. Thank you for bringing that up. So again, 1,119 new interim housing units to help get people off the streets. And that's including the services that they're provided at each of these new units. There's an 89% utilization across interim housing and temporary programs as of June. You want to be as close to 100% as possible, making sure individuals that we built it with your tax-paying dollars and that people are actually using that programming. We're at 89% right now. The council is working on they have a goal of 95% utilization. We're going to work towards that. In fact, Jeff, once he sends the links over with the deck, there's a new dashboard that the mayor has been working with city staff on. They are perfecting it. It is not there all the way yet, but they're starting to compile the numbers, which shockingly was never done before, in which they can tell you at any interim housing site or safe sleeping site what the numbers are. How many people are using them? How many people are using the services? How many people are graduating out of them? This is all important so that you, as the residents, can keep track of the programs that we're paying for and understanding if they're actually working or not working. So those dashboards are going to be made available and perfected a little bit more. Jeff will make sure the link gets into your hands. Over 1,200 families were prevented from becoming homeless thanks to one-time rental assistance paired with case management that helps 90% of households not return for additional support. Many times people fall into homelessness. People like to say, well, they're here because of the weather. They're here because it's just mental health, or they're here because they're drug addicted. There are many different causes to homelessness. Housing is the number one cause. The exuberant cost of housing in this area is a major reason. 80% of residents who are homeless in this county had an address in Santa Clara County before they became homeless. That is an important figure to remember because a lot of people like to think Santa Clara County attracts homeless individuals. People come here because we provide services. That is simply not true. People become homeless here because of the exuberant cost of housing and a number of other issues. Yes, mental health does have a factor to play. Yes, drugs do play a factor as well. They are not the only factor. So these one-time rental assistance programs put through the housing department have helped keep over 1,200 families from falling into homelessness. That's a huge number, folks. Just reading through, Columbus Park has been cleared. I know that has been a major sore spot for a lot of residents. City property and property that is owned collectively by the residents of an incorporated city is something that the city government is responsible to keep clear, managed, and safe. Columbus Park temporarily, because of COVID and other items, became a site in which individuals could house temporarily, not legally. It was never allowed by law that people could do that. But because of the situations we face in the city, that folks simply had nowhere else to go. When the mayor and the council and city staff started working more and more to build more interim housing, making sites available, the council and the mayor decided with the city manager's office, well, if we're going to build this housing, we want to make sure people are going to use it. There was 370 individuals who were living at Columbus Park. And you can talk to the police captains who managed the site. Some of the worst calls that were received at that time came from that park of crimes that were occurring because it was an unsafe, unmanaged site with no oversight. And now, thanks to the work that the residents have focused on, we have over 254 individuals who accepted shelter with services from Columbus Park. That is outstanding, folks. And these folks are going to be getting the services that they need. If it was job training, mental health, if they needed mental health treatment, if they needed drug addiction treatment, if they just needed housing, which they were provided, They're being provided those services so that they could safely come off the streets and hopefully move into a more permanent situation that is safe. On top of all that, there is the issue, homelessness becomes a large issue when you can see it, right? The item of homelessness became much more problematic because people saw encampments more and more. When it's not as visible, people kind of didn't think about it. It wasn't a top issue. Your government functions off of what your collective feelings are toward an issue. If public safety is an issue, you elect leaders who are going to focus on public safety. If the environment is an issue, you will elect leaders who are focused on the environment. When homelessness is an issue, you elect leaders who are more focused on ending homelessness, especially street homelessness. With the programs that we've been putting forward on interim housing and safe sleeping sites, we wanted to make sure we were managing and clearing more and more of those encampments that were along our roadways, in our parks, and other places. So with that, we've cleared over 12 million pounds, 12 million pounds of encampment debris removed, and 22.7 miles of waterways have been cleared citywide. Another huge staggering statistic showing the progress that the city government has made, largely done with Beautify SJ work, which was mentioned earlier, that has become one of the most well-funded departments because of the focusing of ending street homelessness, getting people off the streets, and then also cleaning up the debris that comes with it. And then finally, lived-in vehicles reduced. One of the largest problems, and I'll talk a little bit about this probably in the Q&A part. One of the largest problems, Enrique manages a part of the ticketing system. Each year, the mayor's office gets about 30,000 emails on average. And of those, I would say probably 29,000 of them have to do with lived-in vehicles. No, it's a lot. Significant number come in, and it's about RVs or cars that are lived in. There's a number of issues, folks. Your roadways are managed, yes, by the municipality of the city of San Jose. However, we follow the rules and regulations of the California Vehicle Code, which also has to do with the laws within Santa Clara County, how we are to deal with lived-in vehicles. Sometimes police officers, the captain, will be called in to figure out with a lived-in vehicle if there is a law that is being broken, if there is a safety issue. And that is when sometimes you'll see an RV towed or a car towed because there is a law that potentially has been broken. The police identified it and they moved forward with it. It becomes more challenging when it's lived in. And your city government, San Jose, has a very, very long, extensive history. And please thank City Manager Dutch Hammond for this. But because we're such a large city, 180 square miles, we have a very small budget. It's a much deeper and longer conversation. And with those limited dollars that we have to focus on whatever is at the top of the pile. And so lived-in vehicles wasn't exactly at the top for a very long time. The mayor's office, the council offices voted in last year's budget to allocate more resources to provide the Department of Transportation, who should be the entity at City Hall monitoring lived-in vehicles largely, or illegally parked vehicles, or vehicles that have been abandoned. They have now more resources to get, Ray, is it what, 3 new officers? It's 3 new, it's 3 new officers, 3, remember 3 new officers who are going to monitor our roadways and keep clear certain areas. Now again, city's 180 square miles. There's still close to 859 lived-in vehicles that are on the streets of San Jose on any given night. The city is, of course, building more interim housing, permanent supportive housing, and other types of housing to get people off the streets so that they can come off the streets, get the services they need. The issue is that as of this year, we will not be expanding much more on interim housing, safe sleeping with a budget deficit of potentially $60 million. We are waiting for one more site to be developed on interim housing, Cerrone site. It's up in North San Jose near the VTA utility station. It's going to house 200 homes for people to come off the street. But with us still having a large homelessness population, it is a significant dent, but we still have much more work to do to end the crisis of both homelessness and unsheltered homelessness at the same time. That's the high level overview. The part I kind of wanted to talk about a tad bit more, so I'm just trying to pull up the slide. The budget, folks, I cannot underscore enough. The budget is the part where we need your help. Whether you agree with the mayor, whether you agree with him with caveats, even if you disagree with him, we live in a great democracy where people can voice any opinion. We need your voice on March 17th. We need you to come out. And I know it feels very, sometimes it feels unnecessary because we elect leaders. We get this a lot. Well, I elected you to do this, and that's you take that responsibility fully. But Benjamin Franklin, when he was founding the country with the other folks at the Constitutional Convention, a woman walked up to him and said, "Mr. Franklin, what kind of government are we to have?" And Mr. Franklin said, and remember, it was under a monarchy before that. Mr. Franklin said, "A republic if you can keep it." And he didn't say a republic if your mayor can keep it. He didn't say a republic if her Bowen could keep it, or your council member or your congress member. He said, if you can keep it. And that is a responsibility that's on all of our shoulders to make sure we're participating, whether we agree or disagree. In fact, I did a little experiment. There's a theory of the crowd. There was a jar of almond rokas. Thank you, Herb. Herb will be having some of those after this. I asked everyone to put a number in their guess of how many are in the jar. Now, when we all actively participate in something like counting almond rokas in a jar, when you add up each person's answer, as different as they are, I have a 36, a 43, a 36, a 52, a couple other different numbers on there. All of them different. When you add them up and you divide them, funny enough, you usually get spot on. There's 45 almond rokas in that. I counted them.
Really?
There's 45.
We got now.
After your guesses, you guessed collectively that there's 43. You're a little off. That's okay. We're a little off. We don't get it right every time we collectively come together to make a decision, but we get sure as hell a lot closer than when we guess individually. So keep in mind, March 17th, folks, is an important date. So is the June budget. And again, whether you agree with caveats or disagree, I really encourage you all to show up, speak up, and have your voice heard. You're given 1 minute. Yes, that's not a lot of time, but it's your time to keep your local city council and your local city government. I think that's my spiel. I am happy to share this deck. I'm happy to be available to you. I will be going out of work for about 7 weeks as soon as that surgery happens. Enrique from our office is also here. He's happy to help out as well. But any questions, comments, criticisms?
I have a question, maybe off the wall, about Med 30. Can you speak like 60 seconds about what Med 30 is and what the controversy is about Med 30?
Remind me, sorry.
It's the fire department, I'm not sure exactly.
Where they're going to charge for services, is that it?
Yeah, no. Med 30 is a unit. It's okay
I'm sorry, apologies. I'm not familiar.
No, it's okay.
My policy expert is not in it. I would love to have her join me next time, but
it's a fire department, some unit or something they have. I think it deals with drug overdoses. I don't know, within the department or other. Anyway, and there was some controversy, and they canceled it and they brought it back. And anyway, that's okay.
I'm happy to follow up with you, Jeff.
That's okay.
Yeah. Dina.
So are you allowing multiple questions or comments or just one at a time?
Well, your hand is the only one raised.
All right, fine. So first, applause for starting to track results. Good God. I mean, I can't believe that it's taken this long. So thank you, because, what gets measured, happens, right? That said, the city manager, in my opinion, this is a comment, she or he needs to ensure that everyone who's got a goal is working together. So I don't care that there's 20 different opinions. Figure it out. These are high-paid people. So that's my comment, is they need to find a way to work together towards the end result, back into it, and get the job done.
Right.
My opinion. Anyway, for what that's worth. Okay. Is there any tracking of city processes, how long it takes to do something?
There are. It's right now, your best source is coming out in the next 2-3 weeks. It's called the Annual Report on City Services. There is actually, San Jose PD has a very incredible, they were the precursors to managing and tracking data, such as Priority 1, Priority 2 calls. If you go on sjpd.org, you can look up the data, I think it's month by month, on how fast police are responding to calls, Priority 1, Priority 2, Priority 3 calls, and you can see what types of calls they get. And it was very well illustrated a moment ago in regards to the home that is a code enforcement issue, is that sometimes because the city is so, how do I put it? I don't want to say broken, but I just said broken. Because the city isn't fully staffed, I guess, is the best way of putting it. It kind of becomes an issue of, well, who's going to take care of this? This isn't a police matter, but I'm going to tell a police officer about this who's going to do a little bit more than this police officer should about it because a different department doesn't have enough staffing to deal with it. Does that make sense? So on the data sets part, this is the point. The data sets, different departments do different types of measurements. The mayor is trying to get departments to be better about tracking this. There is an annual report of city services in which many departments record this data and publish it in an annual report. The problem with yearly is it doesn't really give you an opportunity to manage the waves that happen throughout the year, the different seasons, the different quarters, and how we can make tweaks to certain programming to make sure our community centers are better, having better programs. We're making sure our libraries are better staffed. But it's on a department by department basis. Police department has been way above and beyond in terms of tracking their data, largely because when it comes to emergencies, yes, you have to track a lot of that to make sure you're allocating resources appropriately. But the mayor's pushed them to get a lot further in terms of keeping an open database and dashboard to track that data. It's coming online. It's starting to happen more and more. I'll never forget my first meeting at City Hall. I will not name the individuals who were there. The mayor, then council member, said, well, how do you track all this? And we were given a very well-written 5-paragraph web page that didn't have any numbers or graphs or charts. And we were told these are the goals and that's what we're aiming toward. And that's great, but there were no numbers. So we're getting more onto that. But right now, annual report of city services is your best bet.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is time is money.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so, and I know a lot of times people get very complacent as to the processes that they follow because we've always done it this way. And there needs to be a fire lit to improve the processes. And so when you track them, then you know what maybe needs to be done, even the small ones. And I have examples, but I'll spare you. Okay, so I have another question, which is the developers are building, and they're including affordable housing, but affordable housing technically is not really affordable to a lot of people. And so I'm just wondering, looking at the Kelsey, which is by my house, which has a range of very low income, medium low income, market rate. I mean, are the developers being pushed to be more inclusive of all different levels, especially given the fact that there's not going to be a lot more interim housing? So where are these people going?
Yeah, I mean, you should run for council.
I am never running for council. I would be fired immediately.
You could only be fired by the residents. So here's the problem. You're absolutely right. All levels of housing is being constructed. The problem we're presented with is when you build at certain income levels, you need to get tax credits. And those tax credits typically come from the state of California or from the United States Federal Housing HUD government. Those tax credits aren't coming in as they once did. It depends on types of presidents and their focus areas of what kind of programming and grants are allocated. And this is the great struggle. your city government is meant to be built and functioning as a city government. And that started off, folks, we're running on a very old system, but that was your streets and roads, your sewer systems, your sidewalks, which we don't even pay for anymore, your libraries and community centers. When it comes to housing, unless your city government puts forward a tax, much like the county did with Measure A, we don't have a lot of money to build housing at all different levels. So that's the great conversation. When these ebbs and flows occur in terms of funding for housing grants and whatnot, the localities have to figure out, well, I guess I need to step up because my residents are hurting. It's much like how we're facing on homelessness. Homelessness was never really on the San Francisco, New York, and many of these city counties, all in one packaged, get a lot of funding from their state governments to deal with these issues. The city government, which is a municipality incorporated within a county, we don't get a lot of the same funding. And so we have to kind of make up our own sources of revenue. That's why you hear the mayors so frequently talking about the Super Bowl's coming, FIFA's coming, people are going to come and spend their dollars here. And why is that important? It's because they're going to be spending their sales, they're going to be purchasing things here that brings sales tax revenue, which that is a major source of revenue. The reason we had a deficit last year is because our sales tax revenue dipped so low that we were losing all of the income that typically came in. But that's the problem with being at the bottom of the totem pole of governments. Is it a perfect system? No. But we have to figure out how to work within that system to get the dollars we need to build housing at all different levels. And we need our state, county, and our federal governments to help support us in building it. So, long answer, but it's a big problem. And so what can we do at the local level? I mean, when we work with neighborhood associations and we spark ideas on how to get new funding and new revenue, that's largely how these things start.
Thank you.
I've got a couple questions. You said, if I remember right, that there has been a 25% reduction in the unhoused since 2020.
Unsheltered.
Unsheltered. Thank you.
Unsheltered.
Yes. Question from that is that at some point I remember seeing the number 6,000. So is that 6,000 down to 4,500?
I have the number here. It was on a slide deck. 1 second. I can pull that up. I think it is close to 4,500. But here's the part that's a little difficult. Unsheltered at the moment is at 3,959.
Okay.
Sheltered homelessness is at 2,544.
Okay.
That's based on your point in time count, which is done every 2 years.
Okay. So basically,
So again, we're trying to get much closer into a quarterly checkup system, but because it's so, I mean, it's expensive to do a point in time count, compile and aggregate that data. At the moment, it's still done once every 2 years. So that's as best of a number that we have.
that's still it's a starting
Right.
getting numbers.
Yeah.
One of my questions is that 25% reduction. How much of that has been because we've been providing housing solutions? How many is just people post-pandemic were to get work and get back off the street?
Just like my analogy at the beginning, when I spoke to 3 different doctors on how to solve a problem within myself, well, all experts in the same area, it's the guess is, look, another professional would say, oh, so one person over here will say, oh, it's absolutely all because the city government has built all this interim housing. And yeah, a lot of it has to do with that. We obviously see it. But the person over here says it has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with economic factors and other issues. Do we see a large reduction because we built a lot of housing, interim housing and safe sleeping and safe parking sites? Yes. Are we seeing programming dollars? And thanks to the data, we're now starting to collect more and more. Are we seeing that impact? Yes. So can I give you an accurate number? Eric Sullivan from the housing department could probably give a more accurate number, but I would say largely 80%,
Okay.
if not more.
And I was just looking for a hand wave. I
Yeah.
understand the blurriness of the numbers.
Yeah, that's from my my 20 years of working as an advocate in the community. The toughest question's coming right now. 47.
So yeah, mine's Herb Bowen. I'm with the CERT group. I'm in South San Jose. A lot of those shelters or the housing has been done there. So we deal with a lot of different things in San Jose, down south San Jose. Route Ferrari, I think we're up to 200. They did make more housing there. The good thing about this is once we get them in, it's over 90% we get them through the system. You know, we don't have enough, but you know, the different groups are getting them through. We have Monterey Road. We're having a lot down there, so we have to deal with a lot of stuff. But once they get in, they get fixed a little bit and get through the system. And 90% is a pretty good number.
Yeah. And I want to be honest, it does range. Some sites do have higher success numbers, 90%. Some do have lower numbers, like 60%, 50%. We are working, and you're going to see out of the council over the next, I think within the next month, council is going to be talking very directly about those exit numbers. And that means, are people benefiting from the programming? Remember, the mayor passed these items. He didn't do so to say, we're just going to write a blank check and say, we're solving homelessness. We want to make sure we're passing the dollars, but measuring it. So that conversation is going to be quite fruitful in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, with the budget, the way it's going to go this year, we're going to see less services. Police are changing things, fire. You know, I expect you're not going to hear from a lot of people sometimes on, okay, parking issues and that. So I think as a community, you guys work together, you can make that happen and make changes because you're a bigger voice. You know, just one person sometimes doesn't make it. So I think a bigger voice is good, and neighborhood associations are key with that. We're doing search stuff. Jeff knows all about our search stuff to get people organized and prepared. So yeah, I mean, you got to organize.
You definitely have to organize. I cannot stress enough. We get emails from time to time, another parable or story. We get emails all the time about people talking about 280 or 85, and there's encampments here, there's encampments there. And people say, why aren't you doing more? And we say, we are advocating to the same individuals you are. Your state senator who's elected by you as an individual, your state assembly member, also elected by each of us, Caltrans, which is a state department. Now, I want you to imagine when you go into a room, or if you meet with anybody, talking to Jeff. Jeff hears from me. Jeff, you know, I really like that banana pudding you made last week. I hope you make it again next week. Jeff goes, you know, I'll think about it. But then Tina comes in, and then Herb comes in, and then Enrique comes in, and then Ray comes in and says, I really want to see that banana pudding. Jeff's going to go, you know what, next week I think I'll make banana pudding. When I go to the state representative as the deputy chief to the mayor, when the mayor goes to the Caltrans director, that's two voices. It's still two voices. And yes, of course, they take into consideration that these individuals, mayor especially, represents a million voices. When you're in that closed room, it is really as much as me and Jeff sitting in his dining room having the same conversation. It is one individual talking to the other saying, you should do this. But when that other individual is getting 10,000 emails from residents saying, I want this cleaned up tomorrow, I elected you, things start to happen. So it's a good point. We need the collective action from residents because, yes, it is our job to focus on these issues. But as I mentioned from Benjamin Franklin's quote, it is all of our job to make sure these things are happening.
Well, we have a lot of, in CERT, our SJN CERT goes to a lot of communities in the city. And Matthew knows that. I've been working with Gardner over there, off of Bird there, and also down in Alviso. And they have a lot of issues they need to work through. So I think, we got to look at the whole picture and how do we try to solve that, as a group to help them get organized, be prepared. And, the mayor's been very helpful with our organization and getting people trained. I think it's a good way to really get people organized.
Absolutely. The power, who gets what, when, and how.
That's right. And
What's
so,
our
yes,
top
it's
priority?
key.
Yeah.
And you got to know the people. I mean, Dave Cortese, I work with him, trying to get that. Panetta, you meet with these people and say, here's our issues, and see if they can help a little bit.
Yeah.
At least know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, criticisms? Sure. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I've been accused of being delusional. So I believe that when somebody applies to build a large housing community building, that they negotiate with the city of San Jose as to what percentage of what kind of low income housing they have, what level they're in, and how many. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. There is that conversation. San Jose has, per state rules, we have requirements upon us of how much housing of each type of income level we must build. It's not a must in the sense of a major penalty is going to occur if we fail to meet it. It's called the housing element. The council just passed one a couple years ago. In fact, a number of developments were built because we didn't pass the housing development. The council member is very familiar with the housing element, having worked on it as a planning commissioner. That conversation occurs. It could have come from the council member. It could come from the housing department saying we need this more of this type of housing. But, to speak frankly, from what I've seen, it happens more of like, if it's a nonprofit housing developer who builds affordable housing, that comes into play a little bit more. If it's a for-profit developer, it's typically what does the bottom line look like? Both the nonprofit and the for-profit developer focus on, is this going to pencil out? You'll hear that a lot in development, but there's really no big conversation behind closed doors. Typically, a developer will come with a package of like, we did some number crunching with this land. We can make 80% of this market rate housing, 20 or 10% of this below market at 80% AMI, and then 10 of these could be 20% or 10%. I don't know.
So basically what you're saying is, what I believe is that the developer comes and says, this is what we're proposing.
Right.
And then there's someone at City Hall or whatever part of the pyramid they're in, they look at it and go, maybe not.
They're usually working very closely together. It's like any business. They have relationships with these individuals. The developer is very, the reason Swenson's so well known, he had been building a lot of relationships with a lot of the housing department folks over the decades that they've been operating. They continue to operate. But there is no real hard conversation of, at least my understanding. A housing person might say something different, but there typically isn't no real like, this is what it has to be for this plot of land. Or it's typically a developer bringing that forward.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that a conversation does happen.
Yes, absolutely.
And my delusions have wiped out my other conversations. So
you have no delusion. You're spot on. You're spot on.
I guess I have one other question. So given the 1,000+ housing units that have been put together, where are those distributed across the city?
Across the city, I can send that map. There's many. Okay. I'll pass around my slide deck right now since it's a smaller
Okay, well,
group.
the answer you're saying the answer's in the slide deck, which will get sent out, right?
A number of them were built in districts 10-2 in South San Jose. We do have a new site with 98 units in Cherry Avenue. If you're familiar with the Bass Pro Shop, there's 98 right there along the creek. It's actually Valley Water District land. It's a very great example of collaboration between two local government entities, the city government and the water district. So that was a great example. That's District 9. Those are all South San Jose. District 10 is Almaden and Lawson Hill, Santa Teresa area. District 2 mirror images that and is basically Coyote and North, the Monterey corridor. But there's a number of units available in District 7, which is Central San Jose. District 3, our neighborhood, Kelsey. We have also the Cerrone, which is coming in District 4. That's 200 more units that should be completed by the end of summer, I think is the latest. So it's kind of all over. There are a couple districts that do not have any type of interim housing, safe sleeping, or safe parking sites. The council 4 years ago passed a fair share policy to make sure each district was doing their fair share, knowing that District 3, District 7, District 6 and District 5 had a lion's share of the housing. 10 and 2 have stepped up significantly. Thank you, Mr. Bone.
Bascom is going crazy. They tore everything out and they're putting mass housing in Bascom. They're taking all those little places out. I mean,
those
gotta be close to 1,000 housing units.
A lot of that's county-owned,
Okay.
unincorporated pocket.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother story.
Just wondered.
Yeah.
They're doing this job.
Do you have a question, Dave? Oh, no, good. All right, well, if there's,
There's also the development of solar. Oh, yeah, you again. There's also the development that's happening over out back of where the hospital used to be. And then there was one that was starting in that direction that was funded by the VA and someone else. But
Yeah.
that seems to have stalled and I haven't seen any real action over in that direction.
a lot of it usually has to do with the economy. If the investors, the bankers can provide the funding. I mean, remember, we're sitting on some of the most expensive land in the world. And that also has to do with the labor. The labor is going to be expensive because the workers who live here are going to be paid. So unfortunately, the economy has a large part of that. The processes within the state and within the city have a lot to do with it as well, which is why we're trying to streamline more and more to make more housing development occur. But yeah, the stalling is largely a factor of the economic issues.
You need to keep me quiet.
Okay, next, David, do you want to ask the question or I'll ask it? What is going on with the batting cages building? It's for lease again. First Community Housing sold the property because they were failing and got bailed out for Roosevelt Apartments. That's from David.
David, a great question. Ray, I look to you as District 3. Do you know anything happening in the batting cages area? David, we'll follow up with you on that one. I don't know specifically.
Send it to my email. My work laptop just died, so I can look it up
Okay.
when I is on it.
Okay, thank you.